All right, Any Given Sunday Sports Special. It's your boy Jesus. I'm here, feeling good. I got my man Steve with me. If you guys thought
What's
Anthony
going
was
on?
special last week, he was the star of the show. Just wait to see till you see what he got in store for us this one. What up, Anthony? How you feeling, man?
I'm special every week. My mom said I'm special, so I'm special every week.
Let's get right to it, Steve. Lead us the way, my man.
All right, let's start with the first game. We have the Jets suck going into Slap Sauce. Jets suck put up 84 points. Slap Sauce wins it 101. Both 3-4. What do you guys think about this one?
All right, so with the slap sauce, I mean, I told you guys Pops was gonna lose this game. This was something that I went ahead and I did predict, and it actually happened. It came to fruition. Pops is the way he built his team. It was kind of odd to me because he had a big issue with buys the previous week. He had an issue with buys against this week without Rodgers, and then he's gonna have an issue with buys coming up this week again. So this was something I projected. I predicted would happen, and I'm sorry, not Anthony. Sean, I thank you for doing what Anthony couldn't do for me last week. So props to you.
That was last week. We're gonna let that go.
What you got, Ant?
You know what? You just expected better things. I mean, big point differential, and I mean, you expect maybe Slap Sauce will have some kind of trouble, especially early with Sean McCoy going out so soon. But your 14 Drake Colt defense shows up against Buffalo. I mean, it wasn't really an outstanding thing. It was just more that his guys kind of performed. They just outperformed enough. And I mean, he got 101 points, even with a guy catching a zero. I mean, a lot of them were just off double digits, Howard and Kelsey among them. On the opposite side, you're not expecting three from Elliott. Julio still not getting to the end zone. Nothing happened with Boyd. I mean, it was just bad matchups. I mean, Baker did fairly well, but you got what you need to get out of Kamara. But overall, just a bad loss for Pop's team. But again, like he made deals earlier, so he'll get some things moving. But it's a bad loss. So he'll pick it up this week, hopefully.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. This was a game that I thought Pops shouldn't have lost. He definitely should have won this game. It definitely makes it interesting. We'll have a later conversation about it, but both these teams at 3-4, very interesting. All right, next game we have 2-5 Thirst Traps. They put up 64 points against the Daytona Daunting Ducks, who put up 91. Both of them now 2-5. Jesus, what do you think about that?
Um, Again, this was another one. I believe this one actually got wrong. I had Gabe winning this game, and everything but happened there. They didn't show up. He had three guys that showed up. Everybody else was meh, and this is a concern for the Thirst Traps. They're one of the worst. I think they are the lowest scoring team in the league, if I'm not mistaken. They just do not score points. They can't seem to get it right. They can't seem to make the right decisions. They're trying to make trades. They're trying to get right the ship, but it's just not happening. On the other side, the Daytona Daunting Ducks, we kind of said this last week. It's not that they're a bad team. They just have had some bad luck. And finally, things went their way, and they dropped 91. That's usually not enough to win in our league, but you know what? Props to Daytona Daunting Ducks, because now if you look at it, they're one game out of a playoff spot when they were just 1-5 a week ago. Now they're one game out of the playoffs. Interesting.
No complaints, no complaints at all about what Gay did. I mean, you're thinking that Winston had a juicy matchup. A lot of people believe the same thing. You swing him in instead of Cam. I mean, Cam would have got to 28, but it wouldn't have made much of a difference. But you get nothing from Allen Robinson. You get a negative from your tight end. I'm going to assume that's probably a fumble. Nothing else from Marvin Jones. You expected the Chargers to put up a better fight against Tennessee. That didn't happen. On the opposite side, Brady began to look like himself. I think Thielen right now might be the best wide receiver in fantasy. He's been performing week by week. Said that last week. That's not changing. You get Alshon Jeffrey, who's probably the 1A to probably Ertz his 1B more than likely. And even not getting anything from Clement or anything else on his roster. I mean, 91 isn't usually the threshold for winning, but you did just enough. And when you got a guy on the opposite side, when you're getting 0 from your wide receiver 2 and -1 from your starting tight end, there's not much you can say. I mean, And in a weird way, he might have been better off just putting Gronk there. I know he was hurt, but zero's better than negative. But but you're right what you said about Daytona. They're only a game out. Like I said, they've had some bad luck. Hopefully the luck changes. Some guys are coming back soon. We're going to see how it goes. But Steve, you last to come up. What do you think about what happened?
Look, fellas, I mean, at the end of the day, and I'm going to say this later, at the end of the day, when you have two spots on your roster that put up 0 or negative points, you should lose the game. And this is one of the teams that did lose the game. And I'm concerned, gents. I'm concerned because it's a mixture of things. Like I mean, there was a deal done that had to be done in order for him to put somebody in his lineup, and it looks like it didn't work out for him. So that's kind of unfortunate for Gabe, and hopefully he can bounce back. But again, 2-5 teams that are one game back from the wild card makes it very, very interesting.
Absolutely.
All right. So our next game, let's go to let's talk a little McPoon handling Goat Engines playing Dr. Evil. This one was a big blowout. McPoon handlers put up 70 points, 3-4. It was Dr. Evil who came out putting up the big points, 131. Dr. Evil moves to 4-3. McPoon handle goes down to 3-4. Anthony, what say you on this matchup?
I'm sure there's much you can actually say. I mean, Watson, that 12 is not going to get it done. Kittle did great. That's an option, but like I said, a lot of buys, not a lot going on. Like when you're depending upon this one quarterback for things to happen, you gotta hopefully that he shows out. And it just hasn't been Deshaun Watson's year. That line in front of him is pretty much terrible. So you just don't know how it's going to go. He could perform. He won, but not enough to really change the matchup. But like I said, on the opposite side, Dr. Evil is a solid team. They're probably one of the best teams in their division. Well, right now they're the second best. But again, when you roll out Goff every week, and it's at 20, perfectly fine. But you have Gurley, and Gurley's been amazing all season. That's not changing. Latavius Murray did step in well for Cook. He didn't do so great last week, but this week was his week. And you get 23 from the defense. I mean, that's just outstanding. And you throw 16 on top of that from a kicker. So from 5 guys, you got the majority of points, and everyone else is in single digits. It was just a blowout. It's not much you can really say about it. I'm not certain what McCool is going to do with their roster or what moves they're going to make, or it's kind of giving up on the season. But something's got to change because this is back-to-back weeks that this happened. So hope we do something about it because this is getting crazy.
Okay. I'm going to jump in here. There's really not much to say about it, so I'm not going to waste too much of my breath. We said Dr. Evil was going to win this game. We felt it was going to be handily. We actually joked around a little bit about Rich's potential score that he was going to put up this week after putting up, I think, what was it, 50-something the previous week. He did improve slightly, but it's only 70, so he's still struggling to score points. It's bad. It's really, really bad out there for the McPoon handling Goat Engines. And I don't see it getting easier or better for them. That's the tough part about it. So, yeah, and as for Dr. Evil just continues to win games. Again, I do have some long-term concerns with this team, but again, that's very long-term. So let's see if they're able to go ahead and make a deal or two just to go ahead and fix that. But overall, that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Dr. Evil. I mean, they did what they had to do. They put up a $131, which was the highest score of this week, and his team's clicking on all cylinders. On the other side, as I said before, McPoon needs to do something. They need to change something up because the current performance, if he keeps averaging these points, I mean, he's just going to continue to lose games and he's going to continue to fall back. So we'll see what he does, and we'll talk about it soon. All right, next game. We had a pretty big swing on this game. We had New York Powers putting up a $126 going into Anthony's place. And Anthony's team, a slightly punty vibe, puts up 68 points. This one I know I got wrong, but I'm not even going to lie. I did not see that Denver defense putting up that type of points on the first night. Otherwise, I would have picked differently.
Okay, you can have that.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, you can have that.
It didn't matter at the end of the day. This was a steamroll. And yeah, that's really all I have to say to it. I will turn it over you, Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, we pulled off what I felt we were going to. We said it, and it baffled me that Steve picked Anthony in this game, not because Anthony's team is incapable, but because of those matchups. And DeAndre Hopkins, don't get me wrong, he did have double digits, but in order for Anthony to win this game, it wasn't enough just to get double digits. We specifically said it, that he was going up against Ramsey. If you really look at the game, he had 3 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. And that's not going to be able to be enough to go ahead and swing it his way. Then you had Michael Thomas against the Baltimore defense. And he didn't have a horrible game, but it wasn't great either. Again, 12 points. But these are numbers from those two guys you need for them to give you much more than that on a weekly basis. If you look at Anthony's roster, the way it's constructed, he needs a lot from Hopkins, from Thomas, and from David Johnson. Those guys are the horses. Those are his workhorses. They take him, they put him on the shoulder, and they say, let's go. I'm very disappointed. I think Anthony kind of overthought the situation with Phillip Rivers by benching him. I get why he did it. I'm not saying that he was wrong for that, but I was shocked because it's one of those things. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down with my best. But I guess he felt he just needed to throw a Hail Mary and say, hey, let's see what happens. If the way it's set up right now, I'm probably going to lose anyways. So let me just try to see if I can mix it up. On the other side, the Powers, well, it wasn't pretty. Yes, we put up 126, but if I'm being real, this is probably one of my worst games of the year. I truly mean that because Sonny Michel gets injured. I lose Melvin Gordon, about maybe 30, 40 minutes before the kickoff. So I don't have that. Stephon Diggs had 8 catches but only had 33 yards, which is disgusting. So this was probably my worst game of the year, but we still dropped 126. That's what I like to see. So I'm hoping we got our bad game out of the way and we can now go back to what we're used to doing.
Let's be real. Let's be real, dude. You take out that Patrick Mahomes and that defense number, there's a whole different scenario. That's 70 points right there between the two.
Okay, so you put in Carson Wentz, he gets me 22. I probably still win the game.
I'm not saying you don't win the game. I'm just saying that you are right and correct that your team performed badly. And what's scary is you still had two factors that big that still gets you in 132 points.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. You're right about that. But as far as the defense, look, guys, I've always said this and I'll say it again. I've learned that from Steve as far as rotating defenses at the right time. I picked up the Broncos defense a week before the prior weeks because I had already had it planned saying I knew Chicago was going against the Patriots. I wanted nothing to do with that matchup. So I knew if I didn't pick up the Broncos a week before, I wasn't going to get them the following week. So at the end of the day, that was still a good coaching decision by me. So, which is part of the reason for the success this year.
I'm not saying that's I'm saying let's be real, man. Like you were not expecting 32 points from that Denver.
No, I expected double digits, but definitely not 32.
Yeah, I'll admit that's my point. That's my point.
You're right, Anthony. You're up.
I lost. Let's move forward.
No, come on. You got to give us a rant. You got to give us a rant.
You can't rant when you know you're going to lose. You don't go into the yard. You don't go like after school and like the bully wants to fight. You're like, yeah, man, I'm really gonna take him today. No, you're not. You're gonna get your skull kicked in because you already know how this is going to be. You're going to lose. You're gonna try to lose with pride. You're gonna try to lose with dignity. But in the end, you're gonna end up with a black eye and a couple of missing teeth. Because that's how it's supposed to go. When they take you behind the shed and they stomp on you, this is the end result. I knew I was going to lose. Of course I wasn't going to start Phillip Rivers because I want to throw something against the wall and hope it sticks. But in no sane person's mind do you start Dalton, Goodwin, and Sanu. You don't. There's no really no reason for it. And they had bad matchups. Like maybe not Sanu, but I'm like, well, if I might as well put Miller back in there, or if I'm going to roll with Rivers, might as well keep the Mike Williams connection going on, so on and so forth. It just wasn't going to happen. Any kind of combination I would have put together, it wouldn't have worked, especially after I saw what happened Thursday. When I saw that the defense had already put him up 32 points, I'm like, well, this was fun. There's no reason to even look at my fantasy over the weekend because this is over. What was it like? It was like 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, 2 returns for touch. I'm like, okay, all right. And just watching this devastation right before your eyes, and you're like, This coaching staff is trash. They don't know what they're doing with David Johnson. It's criminal what's going on with him. They had to fire Mike McCoy, which is well overdue. They had to get Byron Leftwich's job just to try to do something different. And no matter what, it still wasn't going to work. That offense was still a mess. You were hoping and assuming maybe they can move the ball just enough to get it to DJ, get him inside the 10, get a cheap touchdown here and there. I mean, they could barely move the yards 10 yards at a time, 5 yards at a time. Everything was going backwards. Everything. The entire team is backwards. So, was I expecting a close game? No. Was I expecting to get stopped? Yeah. Did I get exactly what I asked for? Sure. Am I okay with that result? Absolutely not. Again, next game. Let's move on.
All right.
Okay. There it is. All right. So then we have this heck of a game.
Woo! Let's go. Come. I've been anxious to talk about this one.
Weeks.
I got a lot to say about this.
Beating My Chubb Johnson puts up 110 points. Goes into Tampa's Empire looking like they're going to win this week. And Tampa's Empire somehow pulls it off, putting up exactly $110, which then goes down to bench points, which Tampa has them beat. So Tampa moves to 6-1, and beating My Chubb Johnson goes to 2-5.
This
Can't
is
make
ridiculous.
This up. Honestly, I'm gonna go real quick. I'm gonna say
don't go quick. Go ahead. Take the floor.
Look. I deserve to lose this game. I could be a man. I can own when I deserve to lose this game.
I respect that.
I made a bad coaching error. You advised me against it. I was convinced because I was like, no, I'm gonna believe in my system in the matchups. The matchups are better with Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan's definitely gonna go 3-4 touchdowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought Cameron Brate would at least give me 3-4 points at the very least. And the Jets defense, they're the number, mind you guys, they're I believe the number 2 defense, like 1 or 2 defense. So I thought, okay, it's Minnesota. I'm not expecting double digits. That's not what I wanted. But I was expecting 8 points. That's not too much to ask for, right? 8 points? That's realistic.
Against Minnesota offense?
Yeah, at least an interception, a sack, a fumble.
I thought you were out of your mind having the Jets defense against that Minnesota.
Something. I mean, dude, there was not a lot to pick from. All right, let's be real. The waiver wire was really ugly this week. Okay. All right.
Wait. Before you go forward, let me interject. There's only one problem with the Jets defense. You're right. You're right about what you assumed about the Jets defense. But the game that they played against Minnesota, three quarters of their secondary was hurt. Their 2 starting corners and their safety. All they had back there was Adams. He was the only guy back there.
That's it.
That's fine. But then you see 8 catches for 33 yards from Stephon Diggs. So you see what I'm saying? It was the Adam Thielen show that destroyed me. You know what I mean?
It's the Adam Thielen show.
Yeah, So all right, honestly, I go into Sunday night thinking like, look, you know what I mean? Like, I lost. I'll own it. I got 2 zeros. Like, Dom deserves to win this game. I'll admit it. Like I said, I'll admit when I deserve it to lose. But then Kareem Hunt decides he's going to have the game of his life and puts up 3 touchdowns, 31 points. And then I'm like, I got a chance. We go into Monday night. I'm like, I got a chance. My boy Matt Ryan, all he's got to do is put up exactly what I thought, which I thought he would get me 30. And Saquon's got to do what he does. And Saquon did what he did. He got me the touchdown. He got me 17 points, passing everything, being involved in everything.
2-point conversion at the end.
Yeah, 2-point conversion at the end saves my tail. And honestly, I will be very real with you guys. I did not stress about this game because I turned it off thinking I got a chance. I was like, I mean, I'm probably still going to lose, but I got a chance. I wake up this morning to all these texts, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So yes, so again, I was thinking I was going to be a 5-2 team by the end of this. Turns out that I got lucky, and sometimes you need luck in this league.
Absolutely.
I definitely got the horseshoe this week. So yeah, that's it. That's all you got from me. I will
All right.
turn it over to you, Jesus.
All right, so you kind of stole my thunder because I was going to rip into you so bad about the Andrew Luck thing, but because you owned it, we're gonna let that go. You realized where you could have improved better. The Jets defense, wow, I was shocked with that one. A defense that I would have went with, even though I didn't project them at 18, but I did have them getting anywhere between 5 to 8 against Dallas, was the Washington defense, because they were going against Dallas, and Dallas offense is trash. So that would have been the one that I actually thought you were going to go with. They had a better game, way better game than what I projected. But the Jets defense I would have not touched at all. But just no way I would have touched them. But overall, I kind of feel bad for Dom. And I never say this. I never say this. But Dom, this is why you do not do trades with your opponent the week that you're playing them. This is why you do not do that. Because had Dom not done the Derrick Henry for Tyler Lockett trade, the bench points would have went the other way. Dom wins this game, Steve loses. But Dom, for some reason, decided, I want to get cute. I want to trade for Tyler Lockett. I could care less about bench points. And look what happened. Look what happened. He lost this game and potentially, not necessarily a guarantee because he's only a game out, but potentially could have cost himself the playoffs.
One other note, I am shocked he accepted that trade because I don't know if anybody paid attention. I picked him up on the street.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody realized
absolutely,
that.
Yes. No,
Okay.
I definitely noticed that.
Yeah,
It's Tyler Lockett. I mean, it's Tyler Lockett. I'm sorry, Anthony. Go ahead. I'm done. All yours.
What is there to say? It's a terrible way to lose. Nobody wants to lose like that. I'm watching the game, and I'm like, all right, Steve's making a rousing comeback. Here comes Ryan. Here comes Barkley. They're doing what they need to do. Cool. Everything's solid. Game plan is supposed to be where it's going to be. Now, I never heard of this guy until today, and let's see, right now, I still haven't heard of him. Apparently, he's just some guy he picked up. I've never in my life heard of a guy named Giorgio Tavecchio. Ever. Ever. Like, because Dom always plays these games with the kicker. He always does this.
No respect.
Right. And then he finds the week where he finally nails one, and he still loses. That's
he did. What did he get, like 15, 16?
16.
Yeah.
Right. He's always touring around the kicker, like, this guy's going to do this. And,
Justice.
he's always flickering back and forth. Finally, like, I got him. I got the kicker. The guy's going to have a fantastic week. And he does. And it works. And Stafford does a decent job. Green shows up. Hill shows up. Johnson looking better and better by the week. Chubb was terrible for a little bit. Then he breaks up that run, scores, helps you there too. Everything's looking great. Thumbs up all the way around. Then all of a sudden, I'm just watching. Here comes Ryan. Here comes Barkley. I'm like, nah, there's no way Steve's going to come back. Nah. Hold on. Let's everybody relax. Let's just keep watching. and going. And I'm like, wait. In fantasy, they scored 2 points, literally as 2 points. I
was texting as it was happening. Matt Ryan was so trash in that game. Now, granted, it wasn't his fault. He was on his back half the time. But it was just, listen, Steve, there's somebody watching over you this season. I don't know
really
what
is,
it
man.
is.
I have two horseshoes, man.
I'm scared to play you this season in the playoffs.
The one against Dennis is by far my favorite of all time. But yes, this one, I am admitting, this one I should have lost. Like,
had you stayed up to watch it, dude, you would have enjoyed it that much more. I'm telling you, you would have.
You should really play the Powerball, B.
I know.
Hey, Mega Millions, bro.
I intend to.
Play them both.
All right, let's get. All right, so really quick before we get into the next games, let's go over the standings. Steve had a rough week this week, so he has now dropped to third place. His record is 22-13. Anthony is in second place at 23-12, and I remain in first place at 24-11. But Anthony had the best week. He went 4-1 this past week. So props to Anthony.
Yay.
All right. So, guys, we're going to go over these games. We're not going to talk matchups. We're going to give our picks. Then I want us to get ahead and I want us to talk about trade deadline. Should this team do a trade? Should they not do a trade? except for one game, and that's the game of the week, which is Doctor Evil versus Tampa's Empire. That one I want to talk about just because I love talking about it with these two guys. So we're gonna actually talk about that game, but everything else, let's not go too deep into it, and let's just say who's gonna win, and then let's talk about if they should do a deal. Steve, the
All
floor
right.
is yours.
Yeah, so let's do beating my Chubb Johnson, who's 2-5, playing McPoon, handling Goat Engines. I am actually going to take Dom on this one. Interesting enough, when you look at Dom's team, he got better by doing nothing, which is the weirdest thing ever. Because of that trade, Chubb became a massive fantasy value, which benefited him. And I think that's enough between Mixon, AJ Green. I just think I don't see much where he could trade. I mean, he probably could pull one or two trades off, but I think because he got that piece that was handed to him by the league, I think that actually helps him. On the other side, Rich, I mean, as I said before, I mean, I know you're not going to get the value. Um, Amari Cooper, until you see games, it's going to be too late. You can't trade him. I just don't see where you can do anything because nobody's going to want to trade for Carr for Fournette and Cooper. And when you look at the rest of the roster, it's really hard where anybody's going to give you something back. So I think this is a team where they're just kind of stuck.
Yeah, I agree.
Jesus.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are kind of stuck. The only thing they can do is try to move Fournette, and hope they get something for a team that is maybe willing, that can wait for Fournette to get healthy come playoff time, which is a Dennis, which is a Steve, which is a myself. Well, maybe Dennis. I don't know. Dennis is still in the thick of it. He's only one game up. But I do think Dennis is going to find a way to get in. But that's really the only piece that he has because Devontae Adams, if he trades Devontae Adams, he's not going to get equal value back from him, so he can't do that. By the way, I'm picking Dom in this game. Sorry about that. I am picking Dom. So there's not really much Rich can do. Rich, at this point, you're preparing for next year, my man. That's keeping it 100 with you. That's what you're doing. You're prepping for next year at this point in time because you're not going to make the playoffs. It's not going to happen. I don't see it. As for Dom, what is Dom going to do? So Dom, I do think he needs to get a quarterback. I keep insisting on that. Dom needs to be on the phone with Steve yesterday about Matt Ryan. He needs to be on that phone yesterday, and he's going to have to be willing to give up one of those Nick Chubb or Kerryon Johnson type of deal. It's going to have to be. So, Steve, I don't know how you feel about it, and maybe, when it gets to your team, you can discuss it a little bit, but I think that that's where the deal is. Because, yes, Dom could go with Mitchell Trubisky, but listen, that's risky. I like Mitch Trubisky, but I don't know if it's real yet. I watch these games. I don't buy it. I'm not fully buying in yet, so I do think he needs that. And I do think Adrian Peterson, he can get some value for Adrian Peterson to help him on the bench, but I think he's content. His roster has a lot more depth than what it did, I would say, when we talked about him a couple weeks ago. So even if he doesn't make any moves, I do think he is going to be a playoff contender, but I would love to see him get a quarterback and stop being disrespectful to kickers, Dom. You're not going to make the playoffs if you do that. I'm telling you that right now. There's karma. Anthony.
I'm going to win, even though he doesn't love kickers. I think that his roster is set up fairly well. There's a lot of quality talent at all positions. Again, I agree with everyone else. I believe that a quarterback is probably his most desperate need to change. I don't know how long you can float with the Mitch Trubisky era. I would say, like I said, you probably would need to move him for somebody, but you would need to do it soon to maximize value because, let's see, for the next 3 weeks, he has the Jets, Buffalo, and Detroit. So those are games he can do some scoring in and a lot of damage in. After that, it gets a little bit harder. He plays Minnesota, then the Rams, so on and so forth. He plays Minnesota twice, actually down the stretch. They actually have Minnesota as the last game of the season if he even makes it that far.
Yep.
So I'm not sure what you're going to do with Trubisky, but you might keep him because you might be able to get enough out of him for these couple weeks to kind of push you forward. But then you're going to weaken yourself for the playoffs. But I definitely think that quarterback is probably his biggest weakness. On the opposite side, well, McPoon is not really much you can say. I mean, you move Adams to Cooper, I think that would be a good look. Fournette, but you're not really going to get much back. Like I said, he'll be back, but right now, really, God knows when. But in reality, if you're being honest about it, see you next season.
That's true.
There you have it. All right. So our next matchup we can talk about, a slightly punty vibe, 3-4 playing the 2-5 Florida Thirst Traps. This one, I actually do have Anthony rebounding. I think he's going to come back. As far as from a trade perspective, I, I'm still in agreement with what we said last week, where I feel like he needs a bona fide, solid flex position that he needs to acquire. So that's my advice to you, Anthony. For the Florida Thirst Traps, man, I mean, it's so tough. I said it last week, and I think Rob Gronkowski has to be the carrot that you dangle in teams' faces that can get you some sort of talent back, because currently the way that this roster is constructed, I just don't see it, my man. I just don't see how you can sneak in there. You got potential, but I really think you need to move a big name for multiple better pieces and upgrade in multiple spots. That's my opinion. Anthony, what do you got on this?
I'm going to pick my team for the win this week. There are some fillers that have been put out there for the flex position. We're going to see how that shakes out. So that is a concern. Some buys are coming up, so we're going to look towards that in the future. So there are some guys that I'm interested in moving. Mike Williams might be one of the guys. Eric Ebron is definitely a guy I might be interested in moving. I just think on the opposite side, the Thirst Traps, I'm looking at their roster. I mean, it's a ton of wide receivers, but not enough running backs. I think that's something they probably would need to fill in. I mean, right now the backs are just, if I'm looking at this correctly, Hyde, Carson, and Kevin Coleman. Coleman's going to buy this week. We're going to see how that works out. I said a bunch of wide receivers, a lot of pieces there, but again, I'm going to agree with everybody else. I think if you're going to make a move for somebody, I think Gronk is going to have to be the guy. I think last week was just an anomaly. Like I said, the guy had back spasms, couldn't make it. Didn't play, that's fine, but he's been pretty much healthy the entire season. But if you have that one big piece that you want to move, I think that's probably going to be your guy. I think you're okay with Cam. I think you're okay with Cooks. Maybe Allen Robinson might be a movable piece. Like I said, you got a ton of wide receivers, so maybe you shift him and see what you can get from all your other wide receivers and see what works out. But there's some things that need to be done for the Thirst Traps. They're not that far out of it. They can make something happen, but like I said, it's a weird team the way they're established. They have to make some very particular moves. They have to make them quickly. I don't know if they can. I know they're working a line to see what's possible and what's going to happen to be out there. But more than anything else, in regards to the game, I'm picking myself. Both teams need some help in regards to rosters, but I think I need a little bit less help than he does. But again, looking at his roster, I see a ton of wide receivers. So if somebody needs help, I say to give Gabe a call.
Okay. I'm going to go with slightly punty vibe as well. I do think he bounces back this week and he gets it done. As far as deals that need to be done, yes, Anthony, you absolutely need another flex. Lamar Miller is holding on as long as he possibly can for you. Respect to that man for doing it. But it's one of those things that, kind of like with Jay Ajayi, where you're just waiting. It's just a waiting game before it snaps. And that's my concern here with Lamar Miller. I don't know how much longer he can hold on for you. And at the end of the day, right now, Anthony, you're tied for the last playoff spot. So there's still a chance for you to get hot. And your schedule right now is where you have the best part of your schedule coming up. This is it. This is where you can go ahead and really start to differentiate yourself and kind of put a distance. You got the Thirst Traps this week. You got Daunting Ducks the next week. Then you got Dennis, which is a little bit tough. But then you play Pops, who you can really go ahead, bounce back, and give yourself the distance there. And then you end it with Slap Sauce and then myself. So these next 2 weeks are huge against Gabe and Jose, because if you're gonna get it done, now is the time. So I think that you do need to make a move. The pieces that you need to look to moving are Eric Ebron, I agree, Lamar Miller, sell high, and Mike Williams. Mike Williams had a good game last week, but bruh, I watched that game. It was one catch for 55 yards. One. Other than that, he did nothing the rest of the game. He actually dropped a touchdown pass earlier on in that game. So yes, I think it's time to move on. On the other side with the Thirst Traps, I'm very concerned with them, but I disagree with you guys. I don't think he trades Gronk, because I kind of see the Thirst Traps as I see Rich. I don't think this is their year. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to compete for a championship. So they have to think bigger picture. They have to think down the road. You traded for Gronkowski and an $8 keeper. He's not retiring. So before everybody goes, oh, but what about if Gronk retires? Gronk is not retiring. He's already said it. He's going to play as long as Tom Brady plays. So they are in it together. So don't trade Gronk, because if you do, you're going to hurt yourself for next year. There's a reason why you did that trade, and you got Gronk earlier on before the season started. So I don't think he does that. As far as his running backs go, this is the best he's going to have, guys. Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, and Tevin Coleman. That's his running backs. And he's either going to live or die with them. Probably going to end up dying with them, right? But this is what he has. And unfortunately, I don't see it getting much better. But Gabe, you'd be crazy to make any moves of any potential keepers at this point in time, because you need to start prepping for the next year.
Okay. There you have it. All right. So next game we have the 3 and 4, Jets suck, going into 2 and 5 Daytona Daunting Ducks. I have Daytona this week simply because Pops has a lot of buys this week, so I do think it's going to hurt him. As far as a trading standpoint, I'd like Pops to go after another receiver. I think he's set on running back. I think he's set on tight end. He's got some really good running backs to swap in and out with. But I think he just needs to get another receiver at some point, a decent guy that can get him, in the ballpark of 14 points consistently. And I think he'll be in good shape. And if he can't get that, he's not in that bad of a shape. But I think there can be an upgrade to be had there. As far as the Daytona Daunting Ducks, it's interesting, and I can't pinpoint it, fellas, because this was a team where I was pretty much close to calling them dead.
Yep.
And if they win this game, they are very much alive.
They're one game out.
They have Thielen, they have Landry, who are both now number ones on their respective teams. He still has Bell waiting there. This is a team who actually starting to look much better to the eyes come couple weeks down the road. I think the only thing that I would like to see him do is maybe get him another running back, because I know he lost Jay Ajayi. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm truly a believer in Clement. Yeah. But other than that, he's in really good shape. I'll turn it over to you, Zeus. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Jose as well. I hate the fact that we're all on the same page with all these games. It's making me angry. But, again, I kind of agree it's because of the buys. But as far as what Pops needs to do, there's not much Pops can do. At the end of the day, Pops poorly constructed his roster as far as the depth portion of it goes, and he's paying for it. 2 weeks ago, he didn't have he traded for Kamara, and he traded Joe Mixon. So he had Kamara on the bye. He was able to squeak that one out and get the win. Then last week, he didn't have, correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't have somebody. I can't remember who. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. He didn't have Aaron Rodgers last week. So now this week, he doesn't have Julio Jones and Zeke Elliott. It's just the way that his buys are set up. It's really not conducive for him. And it's because of that, I don't think there's any more trades he needs to do, because if he comes out of this week, whether win or loss, he's good the rest of the way, right? He doesn't, at that point, he doesn't have any more buys to concern himself with.
Yeah.
So just hold on.
Yep.
Hopefully you lose. I'm sorry, Pops, but I'm just keeping it funky. But hold on. Try to get through this week, and then just get on a hot streak is really all you can do. If you're going to move anybody, I guess it's Doug Baldwin. That's the only guy I would move, but I'm not moving anyone else, because I think move anybody else, it's basically going to be a 2-for-1 where you're getting two players back, which means you're probably giving up the better player. That doesn't make any sense. On the other side, the Daytona Daunting Ducks, I want to see them make a trade for a running back. I really, really, really want to see them make a trade for a running back, because I don't believe in Corey Clement, and I want them to trade Russell Wilson to get that running back. But let me be very clear, guys. I'm going to let it be known right now. I had a conversation with Jose earlier today. He is not going to make any trades that will potentially impact his season next year. So in his mind, anything that he can pull off this year is gravy, but he is not going to trade guys that he sees as potential keepers, i.e. Le'Veon Bell, Russell Wilson, Adam Thielen. He can't keep James Conner, because I don't know if anybody caught this, but I did, and I'm the commissioner. I catch everything. He dropped James Conner maybe a couple of days before the season started, and then picked him right back up. The minute you drop that player, he is no longer keeper eligible. So he cannot keep James Conner next year, unfortunately. He has no interest in moving Landry. So majority of his team are all keepers. So if he wants to go into next year with keeper options, that means he's not going to really have any moves really to make. So this is what he's rolling with. But I do think even if he rolls with this team, this is potentially a playoff team. I really do think that, guys. There's just something about this team that they
it's
can't
early,
score.
But I get you. It's favorable. His roster down the road looks favorable.
Alshon Jeffrey and Adam Thielen are playing like true number one receivers, and all Jarvis Landry needs to do is be that flex guy. Connor keeps playing the way he is. Brady keeps playing the way he is. Greg Olsen is a decent tight end. I mean, this team is just as good to me as a lot of other teams. And if he beats Pops this week, all hell breaks loose. I'm telling you that right now. All hell breaks loose for that last wild card spot. Yep. Anthony.
I mean, there's not much you can say. You guys pretty much put it set in stone, especially given the last fact about he doesn't really want to alter his lineup or alter his roster much because he's really playing the lock for next year. But again, I think it's the way that his team is set up. And, I mean, we've discussed this over the past few weeks. It's not as if his record is not indicative of the talent on his team. Mm-hmm. Team always performs. The team always scores in the high 90s over 100 every single week. It's just that they always run into something. Every single week, it's always something.
Great.
I mean, like I said, you have Brady. Last week, I can probably say, for me, was maybe the first time all season he kind of looked like the old Tom Brady.
That's true.
Spreading the ball around, a lot of different options. I mean, he's not getting the explosiveness that you're getting from a lot of other quarterbacks, but he's been there. He's fine. He's consistent. And if I'm looking at this correctly, he's ranked eighth in fantasy. That's fine. Connor is doing the job. He comes back off a bye. It's a good matchup against Cleveland. We're going to see how that works out. Again, Adam Thielen arguably is probably the best wide receiver in fantasy. I think that's a solid three that you have right there. I think they have, like I said, I stated before, Jeffrey on that Philadelphia offense is either 1A or 1B, depending on what you feel and where you place Zach Ertz.
Exactly.
And he's getting the job done. I think more than anything else, I think that Eagles defense starts to turn around a little bit. They play a lot better, a little bit smarter. They got some good matchups.
Blake Bortles this week.
They got Bortles this week. Then they're off, and they have Dallas. They got a tough match against New Orleans.
Yep.
The Giants are throwing away this season. Washington, then Dallas. I mean, the Eagles defense has some good matchups remaining.
Yep.
I think the key to his team, I think that's the key to a lot of fantasy rosters in the fantasy world this year, is the timing of Le'Veon Bell's return.
And because that's Bell the thing. Even when he returns, that makes this team that much more dangerous. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yep.
Because even if he's not doing anything with Clement, I think that you can have something that's similar to New Orleans where you're able to play both Connor and Bell at the same time.
That's so true.
And you won't be losing a thing. As a matter of fact, if you're going there with Corey Clement as your flex, it would probably be better to roll with Connor and to roll with Bell whenever that comes back. To rolling out those two guys with Landry, with Thielen, with Brady, with Olsen, and Jeffrey, that's a really heavy, solid lineup. And again, the record is not indicative of how his team has performed. It has nothing to do with game flow or anything else like that.
Yep.
It's really just some very odd circumstances.
Okay.
The same thing with Pops. Pops doesn't really have to do much. In reality, it's just basically like, I just need to survive this window of time right here. That's all I really need to do. Because everything is kind of, all those buys roll in, and everyone's going to run into this eventually. It's going to be that 1 week. We have 2 or 3 guys you generally need or depend upon, and those buys roll in. And that's certain what you're going to do, or anything else like that. You're going to kind of figure it out, see what's going on in the waiver wire, which is going to be everyone's option after this week, because once the trades are done, that's it. You got to see what's out there, and you got to really manage your team and see where it's going. But he has enough depth, and he has enough skill positions that he shouldn't have to worry. He just, more than anything, he has to win this week. I don't think he's going to win this week, but his team is set up for the future just as well as the Ducks are. So it's going to be a tough game. I'm going to give it to the Ducks. I think the best thing for both of these teams to do with Jose, he's already stated that he's standing pat because he's worried about the future. And where Pop's team is, his team is set up for the present. So I don't think they really need to honestly change much.
Okay.
All right, guys. So next team we have we're going to talk about New York Power 7-0, playing Slap Sauce 3 and 4. So, my pick on this is this one. I'm gonna go with the Powers. But it's close. I mean, this could be the game, but I don't know. I thought last week was the game. You know, I don't know anymore. So I'm just gonna roll with the Powers and play it safe. From a roster construction, though, there's really nothing that the Powers are gonna do. I mean, really, all the Powers need to do is sit back and let the good deals come to them.
Yep.
And if somebody wants a 2-for-1, and they need 2 players, but they're willing to give up a centerpiece, Powers is the team to call.
I'm open for business. Yep.
Yeah, open for business. For Slap Sauce on the other side, I mean, my man, you need a replacement for McCoy, and I don't trust Kenyon Drake still. So you need running backs, my friend. You need it in the worst way. Other than that, and you can make an argument for even a receiver too, but I'm going to say you're in more of a desperate need for running back, but this may be one of those scenarios where I might just say what Jesus says. Hey, you know what? Prepare for next year. And
He's signing you
really
off,
all
Sean.
I can say on that. I'm going to kick it to Anthony.
I think you're right. I think the Powers, like I said, they're 7-0. I mean, in our league, he's pretty much, if he wins this game this week, he's pretty much fine the rest of the season, no matter which way forward. It should be enough to basically almost wrap up a playoff spot for him. There's not really much movement that needs to be made. I think the team's extremely solid. They haven't lost all season. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Maybe when the buys come around, but I don't even think that'd make much of a difference. You got Mahomes. He doesn't go in a buy until literally week 12. And week 12, he put in Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz is going to be playing the Giants that week. They just traded a cornerback, and who knows how many pieces are going to rip off that shelf before they even get to that point. So that's one part. On the opposite side, I think, again, you're fine with Breeze. That's totally fine, everything else of that, but there's a lot of things that need to be changed in this lineup. Gordon is a solid piece, a solid addition, but I'm worried about in that offense how well he's going to function literally as a number one. No one knows. He had a solid game, but you're not sure what's really going to get from him. Like, Golden Tate is a good guy to move, but looking at that offense, Kerryon Johnson's been getting a lot of movement, and Galladay's been really stepping up lately, so maybe do something with that there, possibly. Are you going to do something with LaShawn McCoy? Maybe. Maybe you move him now under the assumption that maybe, Buffalo trades him away to someone that needs him, maybe like Philadelphia or something to that degree. And maybe you can talk someone into that, like he has better future value, someone else to that, and break out a deal to that degree. But I think at wide receiver, like I said, you still have Juju, you still have Josh. I think that's something that you can work with. I still think you're still fine with Sterling Shepard. Like I said, I mean, that was an insane game he had last week. That's not happening again. 5 for 167. Nah, I don't see that. But you got other things. You still got Sammy. I think you might try to do something with him. But yeah, looking at the roster, it's similar to Gabe's. It's like you got a lot of things at wide receiver, but nothing at running back. I think you are going to need one in the future, even with Jordan Howard. I don't know how you feel about him, but they're giving a lot of looks to Tariq Cohen, and he's a more versatile piece in the offense. He's been outscoring in the past couple of weeks. So maybe he's a guy you want to move on from also, but there's some things you need to change. But if you don't, you stick with the roster, hey, see you next year.
Okay. All right, so I guess that means I'm up. I'm going to take the Powers. I do think we're going to pull this one off. But as far as deals go, yeah, there's not really much. I'll let it be known right now. Stephon Diggs, I am listening to offers for him. It's going to take a lot, though, for me to move off of him because, yes, he might have had a bad game here or there, but the guy had 14 targets. He's a target monster. He's just had some tougher matchups. And Adam Thielen, what's happening is the best corner on the other team a lot of the times is on Diggs, which means Thielen is the one that's facing the easier corner. I think that's going to start to switch soon. So while I am listening, it's not something I have to go ahead and have to do or anything like that, but just, want to throw that out there. As far as anybody else, people have asked me about the guys on my bench, Emmanuel Sanders, John Brown. Listen, fine, I'll listen, but I like those two receivers a lot. They're to me, I could easily plug those guys into my lineup week in and week out and have no concerns. So it's going to take a lot for me to move them. On the other side, Slap Sauce, I kind of disagree a little bit with you guys. I don't think they should be in rebuild mode just yet because I think they're talented enough with Jordan Howard, with Drew Brees, Josh Gordon, who's getting better and better each week, I feel, with a better connection with Brady. I do think he's ultimately going to put in Juju Smith-Schuster, who's had a really good year. To me, Juju Smith-Schuster, I feel like, if just by the eye test, maybe not numbers-wise, but by the eye test, I feel like he's been better than Antonio Brown this year. A lot of that has to do kind of like the Thielen effect, where Antonio Brown is facing the best corner and the double coverage on the other team, whereas Juju's not getting that. That could have a lot to do with it. He also has Kelsey. I think with this team, if they can make a trade for another flex, be it a running back, be it a receiver, I don't care. But if they package LaShawn McCoy and Kenyon Drake, I think they could get a really, really good talent. Do I think they'll do that? No, because I think Sean sometimes is scared to do those bigger type deals and give up kind of that much value. Because if you give up a McCoy and a Drake, you got to be getting something really good. And I don't think he's gonna have the guts to get and pull that off. But that would be me. That's what I would do. I would move those two and get a better flex. And then that way I have one really, really good flex. And then I'll rotate that other one with Sammy Watkins, Sterling Shepard. I'm basically going to rotate it. Who's the best player at that point in time. Really quick, guys. We're going to get into this next game. But Dennis wanted me to make an announcement for him. This is literally, I'm going to read it word for word. He just texted me this right now. Dennis would like me to just let everyone know he will not accept trades for people he's dropped, people on buys, retired players, IR players, deceased relatives. Please send value for value and stop with the BS. So I'm assuming that means that he hasn't been getting good offers. I have no idea. But he just asked me to go ahead and pass that message along because I guess he knew we're doing a show at the moment. So with that being said,
making a statement.
Absolutely. With that being said, let's go ahead. The game of the week. Steve,
game of the week.
It's
obviously the game of the week for multiple reasons. The hatred between these two teams, the type of matchup it is, the smack talking that you find people get to see when we go at it and into it, which I got to commend Dennis. I mean, truthfully, and for people who don't know me and Dennis, there is no hatred, at least on my side. There's no hatred towards each other. It's all out of fun, but we love to smack talk each other, and that's what makes this matchup so great. At the end of the day, this one is actually so close, but I think I am going to pick myself, simply based again on matchups. And I think Cooper Kupp being in there is going to help me if he's able to play. And I think Mike Evans is going to rebound. If you call it a rebound game, I mean, 7 catches for 100 yards is not a bad game, but I do think he's eventually going to find the end zone. And now that Amari Cooper's gone from the Raiders, I do think that Jared Cook is going to start trending upwards. So it's going to be close. Hopefully it's not one of those last minute, I'm down by 90 points and come back. But, I think I'm barely going to eke it out to get this win. As far as both these teams, honestly, I think both are in really good position. I don't think there's really a lot of trades to be done. I mean, with the Empire, they basically know who they're going to fill in and out. And then, for the Dr. Evil, I mean, they just got a lot of value on that bench that they can plug in and out. So
watch your mouth.
really, they're both these teams are able to do a lot of different things because of their roster construction.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. I'll turn it over to you, Jesus.
Yep. So I'm gonna actually go with Steve as well. Gosh, we picked every single game the same, which makes me feel that I'm probably gonna have a bad week. Just kidding, man. But no, on a serious note. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Steve, but simply because of the matchups. I really, really like your matchups. I said this game we could go really quick over the matchups. I'm not gonna take too much time because we're about to hit the hour mark. But you got Andrew Luck against Oakland, Barkley against Washington, Evans against Cincy, Ty against Oakland. Cook against the Colts, Kareem Hunt against Denver, Kupp against. It's just really good. On the other side, Dennis doesn't have bad matchups. But I just feel like it's slightly better on the other side because McCaffrey going against Baltimore scares me just a bit. Rams defense going against Green Bay, I do think they're going to put up points, Green Bay. So I'm not too sure about that one. And then as far as Kirk Cousins against New Orleans defense is not that great. But with that being said, New Orleans tends to hold on to the ball a bit whenever they're rushing and doing what they do on offense. So I just feel like it's going to be less possessions than what you would normally see. So that's kind of the reason why I'm going to go with the Empire in a very, very close game. But as far as trades go, Steve, I'm on your end. I really would like to see you do something because as far as your bench, the end of your bench goes, is really all that I want to see. But there's not much that you can do because you seem to like Roland Jones. I think you're a believer in him, and if you are, then that's probably the reason why you won't do any moves. But if you could package a Jones and a Barber and get yourself a really good bench guy, just in case if Aaron Jones doesn't live up to the hype that you feel that he's going to be, you have that protection barring any injuries, right? On the other side for Dennis, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, too many Ram players. I'm very, very concerned because if they are undefeated later in the season and then all of a sudden they lose a game somewhere, because I believe they do play Kansas City at some point this year. If they lose that game...
In Mexico, that is correct.
Yeah. So if they lose that game, now all of a sudden come end of the season, what is the reason to play these guys? I'm very concerned. I want to see Dennis make a move, and he's trying to. He is legitimately trying to move McCaffrey and White, and James White, but he's not going to move him for trash, guys. He wants to get some good value. I know him and we've been in talks regarding Stephon Diggs, a potential deal of that kind. But even that, I don't know if that gets it done. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I think that's what Dennis needs to do. And go ahead, Anthony, take us home.
Well, I'm going to go with the Tampa's Empire. I think this have better matchups. I think even with Gurley going the way that Gurley's going, I think quite simply, Barkley can't necessarily match that, but he can just do enough to cancel it out. I think there's a better matchup at quarterback. I think that there's a lot of movement and there's a lot of bad blood between these two guys. So more than anything else, I think it's just going to be a tough matchup overall. I think it really comes down to Cooper Kupp. I think if he's healthy and he's back, he's effective. I think it's going to make a huge difference more than anything else. In regards to deals, I think these are two very solid teams. Again, I think maybe doing something about having way too many Tampa Bay guys, just moving one of the two, or like I said, bundling them together might be a good idea to make. I think on the opposite side, there's a lot of depth. It's a very balanced team. There's only two guys on buys this week. You deal with the fall off from the Rams buys later in the future. But again, that's something you deal about and worry about at that time, at that point. You're just trying to win as many games as you can. And once that comes and you lose maybe a couple of your top scorers, you don't really worry about it too much because at that time, you'll be up and you're already being in the playoffs. So not really much to worry about. Again, two solid teams. I wouldn't really worry too much. Maybe just an issue with depth on Steve's bench. But outside of that, he's fine. He's 6-1, so he's not really doing much wrong. So more than anything else, let's take Tampa for this week. I think these two teams should hold solid, but I think this will be a very good game this week.
Okay. Well, that's it.
There you have it.
Yep, that's it. So we want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Everybody is at least either in the playoff picture or within one game of the playoffs. So there's no reason why teams shouldn't be talking. I know there are plenty of teams that are involved in talking, but here's my prediction, Steve, and I hope that I'm wrong. But I don't think there's going to be as much action as in the past. And the main reason why is because too many teams are right in the thick of the hunt, and they are very afraid to trade away the better player in any deal. So I think that that's what's going to stunt this trade deadline, because everybody is so in the thick of it that they're not going to want to lose out on a trade or take a risk because they feel that they're still alive in it. That's my prediction. We'll see if that's right or wrong. But yeah, that's our show. Y'all stay safe, be safe. We are out. Peace.
Adios.